I am always delighted to talk to marketers, to talk to brands about issues in and around the marketplace, because I sort of feel like, you know, almost everyone's an intermediary, right? Myself included. But it's really, if you want to get to the heart of how an issue is going to evolve, I think just go to the principles, and I view the marketers as having that unique role. You're new to the role of marketer. Talk to me about how you've seen at Campbell Soup the evolution of TV media buying over time.
Yeah, I mean, we are a company that has had a long history with television, and we're still very reliant on it. I think not dissimilar from Dave, we see it as a very effective marketing tool. I do think we've added other things to the mix over time. So it's not necessarily instead of, but that we see TV also being delivered in lots of different ways. And so we started there, as a matter of fact, sort of the convergence play. And then we've followed our audiences and put our content into other digital video channels. But we do love TV. We have wonderful brands, we have wonderful brand stories. There is something about the sight, sound, motion piece of TV, which is still very powerful. So I think we see other formats as a yes and, not necessarily as an instead of to TV.
Do you think of it, though, as, are we talking about an integrated or eventually an integrated marketplace? I mean, do you think of video, or do you think of TV and these other outlets?
This is the first year I think we've been more formal in our vision that it's video. And through a combination of new stakeholders, just new thinking, and we keep going back, I think, in some ways to the CPG principles of follow your consumer. And so wherever the eyeballs are, wherever the engagement is, we this year very formally declared, I think, that it was a video budget. I think in years past it had been a little bit more divided, and we just thinking about a video as a fairer, more consumer-oriented way of planning and buying.
So
easier on planning than buying.
Right. With the explosion of data availability and now the processing capability to sort of tell you results and audience and engagement, is this something that you as a marketer welcome? Do you want to see more granularity in terms of your spend and what's happening as a result? Yeah,
I mean, it's probably one of our current obsessions, I think, of getting away from proxies to the real business impact. In CPG, we've always had a little bit of the arm's length relationship to the transaction, right? Because we sell to our retailers, but there has been such a measurement and metrics revolution on that front in the last couple of years, a very new one. And so one of the big work streams right now is to figure out how we tap into that. I think someone referenced an earlier panel where some of my CPG peer group was saying the only metric that matters in the end is sales, and I say that internally probably once a week. So and now I can do it, which is very exciting. But it's early days.
I tend to think of sales as advertising perfected.
Right.
So automation, a lot of talk about automation coming to TV, coming to video, coming to the convergence space of TV and video. As a marketer, how do you sort of grapple with this sort of software-based approach? Is this programmatic buying something that has got people excited at Campbell's?
I think there's a big spectrum of knowledge and appreciation. You know, in a brand marketing organization, we have some functional experts, like in the media group, who are very deep and very excited. You know, to be frank, on the brand marketing side, in some ways it's solving a problem that they don't know they have. And so they're more focused on the outcome. They're only interested in automation insofar as it delivers better outcomes through automation, basically through optimization. The efficiency part of it, which I care a lot about as an agency lead, it's not so high on the brand marketer's radar. So they want the automation to do something better for them. They don't care about automation for the sake of automation. It's not a terrible thing to say, but
right.
Yeah.
And are you thinking about campaigns? You mentioned you're following your consumers.
Yes.
And your consumers are now consuming video in a variety of different devices. Is there a lag factor in terms of how you will spend towards what you're seeing as trends in the marketplace, or can you accelerate and catch up?
You know, I think we want to go as fast as we can. I think the whole marketplace and, you know, all the e-marketer numbers will suggest there is still this gap between time spent and dollars spent. I think we want to close that gap. Though, frankly, one of the things we do talk about is dollars spent is not always the best proxy for consumer engagement. It is one of the strong proxies that we have, which is why we keep coming back to sales as the KPI. We want to spend the money where it's going to be the most effective. So we are working hard on a couple of fronts. Probably mobile is one, video in total is one, social is another, where we want to really represent how the consumer consumes us. And dollars is not always the best proxy.
Are you migrating? Speaking of which, you talked about multiple channels in digital. There's a lot of talent there, inherent sort of knowledge of how that more accountable media channel works. Are you bringing the digital talent folks to your TV buying equation strategy?
I mean, internally, we divided sort of into content creation, content distribution, engagement, identity. So we have functional leads in each, but digital is everybody's job as far as we're concerned. All those individuals are digitally savvy and digitally trained, and we're working with our agency network and pushing them to be, where they're not, as integrated as possible. And we very recently actually combined our, what have been our traditional agencies with our digital agencies on the creative side. And on the media side, you know, the expectation and the reality is that they come to us with very integrated solutions. So.
Final question, just to get a gauge. What % of total media spend would you say is in the TV channel 5 years ago, today, and 5 years from now?
I mean, 5 years ago was probably 90-something%. I think today, what I would say, it's a big range, to be honest. So I know I said to you earlier it was probably about 20 or 30%, but some of our businesses are up to 50%, and some of our businesses are lower. We are a house of brands, and so again, going back to the principle of being consumer-led, we start with that audience, and not every audience we have is necessarily all digital all the time. So it ends up being a really big range, from sometimes in single digits, sometimes to 50%. I think in the future, I foresee a future where we don't break out digital spending as a separate proxy and a separate KPI. We're actually having that debate internally. What is the right scorecard that we measure ourselves against? Because that's what you get. And I come from a world and a belief where digital is just a medium to reach with consumers. And so we're actually actively looking for what is the thing we should be striving towards 5 years from now. And I'm not sure that a % of spend is the healthiest metric.
Okay.